welcome to the cake tip. Today we're going to be making gorgeous chocolate orange vegan gluten-free cupcakes. To begin with, you're going to need to grab yourself a couple of 6-hole muffin tins and place 12 cupcake cases into the tins, preferably greaseproof paper ones because they're a little bit better for non-stick. Then grab yourself a large bowl in which we're going to place all of the dry ingredients to begin with. First, you're going to need 450 grams of caster sugar, followed by 4 tablespoons of cocoa or cacao, whichever you prefer, then 270 grams of gluten-free plain flour. You're going to mix all of this in together until it's fully combined. Once it's all mixed together, it should look like a very light cocoa powder. That's the way you know that there's nothing that hasn't been combined. Now you're going to need another large bowl in which we're going to place all of the wet ingredients. First, you're going to place into the bowl is 100 grams of apple sauce. Now you can use store-bought sauce if you want to from the jar, or you can make the apple sauce yourself, which I've chosen to do so. Next, you'll need 450 ml of cold water. Then 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, followed by 2 teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda, which is what's going to give us the rise in our cupcakes. Mix all of this together with a spoon, just so that the apple sauce is fully combined into the water. Now we're going to add our dry ingredients to our wet ingredients. Just pour a little in at a time so that it doesn't splosh out of the bowl. Now stir to combine. You'll find that it might go a little bit lumpy, but that's not a problem. It's just because it's got the apple sauce in it. And when we add the orange zest to it as well, that's going to make it even lumpier. So don't worry about that. It's a little bit like a muffin mix. Once you're certain it's all combined, it's time to add the orange zest. We're going to be using the zest of 2 oranges just to give it that lovely orangey flavour. Now combine the zest into the mix, and then we should be on to placing our mix into our cupcake cases. If you haven't done so already, preheat your oven to 180 degrees. Now, placing your mix into your cupcake cases, I would use a 1/4 cup or anything that's like that, that's deep. Don't try and use a spoon because it's a very wet mix. We're going to use all of our mix up over the 12. So roughly the cases want to be filled 3/4 of the way up. Once you've used all of your mix, fill in your cases, it's time to place them in the oven. They'll need to bake for roughly 15 to 20 minutes until they're well risen and spring back to the touch. While your cupcakes are baking, we're going to make our chocolate frosting. You'll need another large bowl for this. Place 1.5 cups of vegan chocolate in the bowl, and then you're going to need a can of creamed coconut. Now, this creamed coconut needs to have been left in the fridge overnight, if not for a few days, because you want it to be very firm. It doesn't want to be like milk, and it doesn't want to be like normal cream. You're going to need 3/4 of a cup of the coconut cream. You can see how solid it is here. We're going to melt this just in the same way as you would if you was making normal ganache. You can either choose to use a double boiler to melt it and stir continuously, or you can pop it in the microwave doing 20-second stints until it's fully combined and is all glossy and thin, like thin chocolate. This is exactly how you want it to look. It looks just like normal ganache, but it isn't. You need to place this in the fridge for 2 to 3 hours at least until it's become firm. It should be at the point where if you press your finger into it, it leaves a finger imprint. That's when you know that it's ready to whip. Scoop your chocolate mix out into either a freestanding mixer or a handheld mixer with bowl, because you're now going to whip this. You'll need to start off on a low setting to begin with, just because it's quite cold and clumpy. You'll need to scrape down the sides of the bowl halfway through, just so that we can make sure that every little bit of the chocolate mix is being whipped. I absolutely love this chocolate frosting. It's actually one of my favourites. Because it doesn't contain any sugar, it's actually really rich and yummy. Give it one last blast now that it's all been scraped down into the bowl. Everything should be able to be included. The result you're looking for is a little bit looser than buttercream, but not quite as thick as ganache. To pipe your chocolate mix onto your cupcakes, you're going to need a star icing tip and a disposable icing bag. Pop your chocolate mix into the icing bag. The easiest thing to do is actually pop this into a glass. That way it holds its own shape, makes it far easier to put the mix in the bag. Once all the frosting is in the piping bag, bring up the sides and you're just going to turn it around in your hand so that you can push all of the frosting to the end. Now to pipe our cupcakes. Holding the bag upright, you're going to pipe a very small swirl onto the top of each cake. It doesn't need to be any more than that. Because this is a very light frosting, if there's too much, it won't hold its shape. When you've piped all of your cupcakes, it's then time to do the last part of the cupcake topping, which is just a small amount of vegan chocolate with a little bit of orange juice mixed in with it. It's a very small amount and you're going to melt this very slowly, otherwise it will just burn. Once you've got the mixture the way you want it, you're just going to put a little dollop on the top of each cupcake. That's all it is. It's just that little bit extra so that we can add some orange zest on top of that. Make them look pretty and the last little bit of orange flavour in there. You'll only need about half of an orange to cover 12 cupcakes in orange zest. Now you've completed all of your beautiful, yummy cupcakes, you can now share them with friends. Please remember to subscribe for all the latest and up-to-date videos for all dietary needs: gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, keto, paleo and more.